Tina trying to get them to make a decision. And Tina didn't answer.
Oh, thank you.
And Sabrina was like, nah, like I'm generally just don't have a connection with Laverne. So that's how I'm going to play that. That's just what it is.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. We're talking to you guys about Ready to Love, and what we're going to be doing is breaking down some of the body language that I saw in the reunion. I'm going to focus more on Precious, Laverne, Ace, Sabrina, and Joy also. Listen, it is so interesting to see how they were all kind of sitting and interacting with one another without saying anything. So if you're interested in that body language and my perspective and my particular opinion on it, follow this particular video. And if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor: like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Stay hydrated because the streets out there are hot. Let's get an intro going. Little black, you know what time it is. All right, let's focus on what I want to go to very first beginning. Let's start further back. I want to start around about here, okay? Now, we're going to enter into the conversation between Laverne and Ace, and I want you to just kind of pay attention to some of the body language. Like, I'm going to pause it at a point so you can have a better look at it. But I just want to pay attention because it's quite interesting before it leads up into the Precious and Laverne kind of conversation. So let's go into it.
Think could be fixed.
And Ace, would you like to continue something with Laverne?
Oh my God.
Now, pause there. First and foremost, she let us know quite clearly without saying no, she's not interested in Laverne's situation. When you do, oh my gosh, it's basically like it's a madness right now. I'm not really, you're asking a very difficult question, which means she's not really interested in the Laverne situation anymore. I think she was quite polite in saying how the relationship kind of ended. I think Laverne came on our channel as well, didn't necessarily say what happened between him and Ace. I think there's a bigger story there, but both of them are not going to tell us exactly what it is. Anyway, let's focus on body language. Now, first and foremost, let's look at Demetrius. Demetrius here on the end of the shot, okay, man spreading. He's kind of got his body very formatted. It's very interesting how Demetrius holds himself, because Demetrius will tend to be very still. I don't know if you noticed, when Demetrius is not being questioned, he is as still as anything. Now, I don't know if that's the army training plus potentially his actual personality that he doesn't necessarily do too much. But when he speaks, he's very animated. But when he doesn't speak, when he's not being spoken to directly, he holds a very stern and very still posture. There's barely any movement. That might be more of the army training per se. Then we got Precious on the very end. Now, what's really interesting with Precious is she always tends to seemingly lead with the left leg. I thought maybe she might have switched legs, but she didn't. She kept it the left leg. Even when Laverne was sitting on the edge of her earlier on the show, she still had her left leg open. So she prefers probably the left leg when she crosses over. Besides, they were probably filming for many hours, so there might not be much into that particular part. What is interesting, though, I feel, is the gaps between the ladies, right? And then the posture of Ace in regards to that. Sabrina obviously being in the middle in that situation. Her and Precious aren't that close. And actually, now Precious's leg towards Sabrina is closed off. And actually, also Sabrina's leg towards Precious is closed off. When you put your leg over, it tends to close your body to the other person on that particular side. So if I put my right leg over here, the person on the right-hand side is going to be closed off, right? If I put my left leg down, now open, I can move my body this way a bit more better, and I can be a bit more open to conversating with you. They both put their opposite legs to each other, meaning they've both... Now, I've heard Sabrina say she's still cool with Precious and them. So yeah, but doesn't mean you trust her. Just because I'm cool with you and I talk with you, I mean I trust you. And so that leg over by both of them is actually saying, for me anyway, is saying we don't fully trust each other, right? We don't fully trust each other. And what's interesting also is the fact that Ace also, not only is her leg crossover, but her actual body position is actually with her back, with slightly turned, but her back is towards Sabrina and Precious, and she had that pose pretty much all day. Now, it could be a case of her trying to be more focused on Tommy, wanting to create that connection with Tommy, and so not trying to have her body to the side. but you know, she could just do that facing forward. I mean, Demetrius is not shifting his body to focus to Tommy, but again, I can understand why someone might do it if they're trying to create more of a connection with a person talking to. But I think it's very conscious from Ace. I think that the consciousness is subconsciously, how cool can she be with Sabrina and Precious when she got wrapped up in the nonsense that was with Laverne? When she told Laverne, she showed what allegiance he had, which by exposing that allegiance to, meaning that there's probably going to be problems with Sabrina and Ace. And notice later, sorry, Sabrina and Precious. Notice as well that later on, Precious says, we had a conversation on a three-way, and she cussed out Ace because she was like, Ace was telling Laverne this information, blah, 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 blah. Now, when you cuss someone, you can't take it back. When you say something, you can't take it back. That person may say, I'm cool, I'm good with you, but they may not trust you internally. So outwardly, I may conform and show you I'm cool with you, but inwardly, I'm not really cool with you. And I saw that and I was really interested by that because Ace's body language is telling me we ain't cool like that. We ain't cool like that. Let's have a little more.
Oh my God.
To be determined.
Let me answer.
I mean, I think that her answer was pretty solid in terms of in terms of what she felt about Laverne. It's interesting because I think also as well, I want to see if I can go slightly back and see if I can show you what I mean with Laverne. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me put it this way. Actually, sorry, and I apologize, guys. I want to be able to show this. Okay, so Laverne's quite interesting for me because I think towards the end of that conversation between himself and Ace, the head tilt came in. This head tilt, right? And it's really interesting to see when this head tilt comes in for Laverne because when they were talking originally, it seemed like he had his head quite on a level playing field, like how I have my head here, right? And then when the conversation was kind of shifting towards maybe talking a bit more about his particular behaviors that were not cute, what you start to see is the head tilt, right? So here we have him talking.
Some people don't. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. That's something that you need to talk with yourself and God about.
So it seems quite level here when he's talking, right? It seems quite level. It's there's a little bit of a tilt. It's not too much, but the head is quite straight. Now, I mentioned this because of obviously him being accused of having a God complex situation and being a bit of a narcissistic. Even here, look at his head.
This came to an end.
Yeah, I would take full.
And can it be
yeah.
fixed?
Notice again, the head of Laverne it's not up. It's actually dropped down when he's asked, do you take accountability? He said, yeah, I take accountability. Yeah, I would take responsibility. Da, 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 da. It is when Precious comes at him that the head begins to shift. The head takes a shift. Here we go.
I was, disrespectful. I was just very direct. I said I understood what was done, what was going on, and it's not going to work. You're not going to.
Even there, it's still quite level, right? Even there, it's still quite level. It's a little bit later on, right? I'm going to bring it back to where we need to go to. Hold on. It's when he's listening to the conversation, Precious and thing. And if I can get this correctly. Ooh, baby. They're going to get me for this.
Ladies are feeling about you.
Yep.
All right. And then you said, ask Precious.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
Okay, so when it gets to this part, when they're about to conversate with the Precious situation, I don't want to get no copyright, so I can't play it all the way through. You're going to start to see that head tilt come in where he's like this. Now, it could be that could be his way of listening. That could be his way of just kind of just showing that he's actually attentive and alert to the conversation. But it's quite a big difference in terms of head posture when he's talking, when he's listening or talking earlier on to when he's doing it a little bit later on. And that's why I'm saying that sometimes the energy, maybe even your energy can come through even your body language. So you may not necessarily be saying you're arrogant or have an arrogant way of doing things, but that body posture, people pick up on it. You know, if someone takes a photo and they're like this, they're saying they've got an air that is of superiority. When someone continually looks down like this, it shows that they haven't got much confidence. So we tend to, as human beings, keep our head quite level. If we're always doing this, it's like we're looking down at people. When we're looking down, it's like we don't want anyone to notice us. So we tend to look forward. So when I saw him obviously looking up like that, I was like, oh, that looks a bit, it looks a bit some way. Like it looks like he's maybe trying to show some superiority in comparison to the ladies that he was talking to, especially when Precious was explaining. So I don't know. It was a lot for me. Now I want to focus on something else, right? Specifically in this scene. Watch this between Joy and Laverne.
This clip is trying to explain to you how the ladies are feeling about you.
Yep.
All right.
Now look at Joy's body language. Really interesting. Laverne's holding the space. He's holding his man spreading. But Joy is leaning in. And I'm going to show you another clip, maybe another. I hope I can get the clip up. I remember where it is exactly. Where Joy is leaning is with Clifton, but she doesn't lean in with Clifton. Now it could be the fact that the gap is much smaller with Clifton, so she could hold her body up. Whereas with with Clifton, but with Laverne, maybe there's a bigger leg gap, so she had to lean in a bit more. But they seem quite close enough, so that leaning is quite intentional. I'm not saying anything. I'm not alluding to anything like that. I'm just saying it seems they are very, very cool then. Or at least from Joy's side, there's an endearment and affection. Now, how far that endearment and affection goes, I don't know. But what I will say is there is definitely an endearment and affection there, because that lean in, okay, it's quite interesting. Whereas when I see her with Clifton, there's more of an uprighted sitting down. Now, again, I think that's to do with the way that when we deal with intimacy with a partner, it's not always how we deal with intimacy with friends, because the person who's your partner can see you intimately completely different to how somebody who's in a relationship with you. And people are more guarded with a relationship than it can be with their friends. A friend is not a romantic love and inquest, and therefore the pain that they may cause you may be slightly different to somebody who you allow completely into your heart, and they can basically shatter and break you, right? So let's have a look again at the lean in, right?
And then you said,
leaning in. Look at that. Leaning in.
ask Precious.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
So I got wind of something.
Okay. So let me then go to where I saw Clifton and Joy talking. Let me get my notes. I don't want to mess up the point this time, so you guys get it. Okay. Here we go. So here's Clifton and Joy again. All right. This is another lean-in, okay, from Joy to Eric. And we'll discuss that on their particular video. But there's another lean-in from Joy again once more. She's leaning in. Now, I don't see the leaning in with Clifton. And that could be simply just we didn't get the camera just didn't pick it up, or the camera they didn't edit that into the video. I personally my personal feeling is that when it comes to friendships, Joy can be more guard can be down. Therefore, the softer Joy can come out much more easier with friends or male friends even, because the exposure to hurt someone isn't necessarily there. When they're a friend, it's completely different to when they're a partner. But when you're with a partner, there's a different level of intimacy. And that's why I was showing that clip there.
All right, it's time for a quick pause, but don't go anywhere, because we're talking to Sabrina and all her men when Ready to Love Potomac reunion.
Now she's back up. She's not necessarily leaning into Clifton. Interesting, right? And that, and this is part of my own kind of observation and what I think it is. When Joy shared her heart with Clifton earlier on when he almost died of the allergy, she spoke about growing up with her father. When you grow up with a father and less of the feminine energy, there is less of the dependence energy that comes in, because the feminine is all about being protected by the masculine. When you grow up with a lot more masculine, you learn to defend yourself. You learn to be independent. And therefore, when I think what's happening with her and Clifton at the moment, and it may change, it may never change, because that's how she grew up, that she has a level of independence, which is why she's gone away for 6 months, doesn't need a man, or he has to like kind of flex and fold with her. That's why this is not a lean in, and it's more of a reach over with the hand. Do you see? The whole wanting to lean in and cuddle up next to you like that on a couch like that and being dependent, because when you lean in like that, what you're saying is, I feel in safety next to you like this. It's almost like a dependent kind of energy. It is the submissive energy, you know. And it's not a bad thing if you don't do it. I'm more kind of showing, you know, when someone's got a softer side, I don't know how to say, a more vulnerable side. I want to say, yes, a more vulnerable side. People can do the little leaning and curve like that. They don't mind. They want to be protected. That's what they want. I'm not saying Joy doesn't want to be protected. What I'm saying is her natural disposition and her body posture, the way she emotes and the way she moves herself, is I can take care of myself. Do I want to be taken care of? Yes, but I can take care of myself. And I think that's why this is a lean in with the hand and not of her whole
special continues.
Now, I may have missed it. Maybe she did lean in a little bit later on. I don't recall seeing it on the episode. So again, I may be wrong and I may have missed a part of them talking about it. And we may see it in part 2. And so what I'm saying, I may have to resend it when we get to part 2. But it just looked like that to me when I was watching them on the show. So yeah, with Precious and Laverne and everything like that, it's very interesting. We'll go a little bit deeper because when I go into actual Laverne and Precious conversation, I'll bring in some more body language where people are agreeing with what the person has said, and therefore we can get a better idea of the story that's happened between Laverne and Precious, and who lied and who didn't lie, and whose truth is what's truth. So if you're new to the channel, please do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. For those of you who are returnees, already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Stay hydrated because the streets out there. Live black. You know what?